Alright guys, the rear is a little bit trickier. One, because there's two pieces that you have to fit up, and also because on the rear here we have spot welds, and this is the unibody, and everything's tied in together. We can't just go and cut all this out. So what we're going to have to do is mark some lines. We're going to have to cut vertical slots like this and bend everything back. It's not that difficult. We'll get to it. First thing I'll do is put masking tape up here just to protect the paint on the body. Alright, so here's where it gets a little tricky. What I've done is cut out the tape so I can see the door. Now, if you're using the one-piece flare for, say, a two-door or for a Comanche, then you don't need to bother with all this stuff, except you can do it just like you did the first one, I guess. But on this one, what we're going to do is line up this line in the door with this line with the flare. Now you're also going to bring this up until the holes just barely go into the door. You only want those holes to be about a ½ inch up into the door, right about there. So we're going to line up that line. I'm going to bring that up, line up my holes here, and then I'm going to go ahead and mark me a line right there. Now that is not a cut line, so make sure you watch the rest of this. Alright, now we're going to do the same thing for the rear. I think that's about right. And then we're going to mark that as well. Alright, so now the directions say to draw a dotted line about a ½ inch above that line that we just marked. And this is not the cut line either, this is the reference line. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to cut out this bottom section, and then we're going to make vertical lines. You don't want to cut through those spot welds, because if you do, the seam will come apart. So what we're doing here is going to cut just this lip off basically, and we don't need to go past there because as you can see the line stops there. So we're just going to cut that lip off, then we're going to cut vertical lines and fold it back with a hammer. Seems kind of complicated, but you'll see in just a minute. Alright, now with a different color, I don't really even need to mark this, but there's some spot welds right there, and you can kind of see them because they make a little indentations. And we're going to mark a line right below those spot welds. And that's where we're going to cut. So it'll be right about there. It's pretty much right on the top edge of that seam right there is where we're going to cut everything out. Alright, now we're going to take the tool of your choice and we're going to cut some vertical lines up to that dotted line. So you'll need more bends in a corner, and then you'll need less bends on a straightaway. So we'll do something like this. And when we get to a corner, make more cuts here. Alright guys, once you get all those lines cut, then we're going to take a hammer and start smacking. Alright, so now we need to do some serious paint touch-up, but before we do that, I'm going to test fit it. So that goes right about there, and that one goes right about there. I think that'll be perfect. Alright, so now we need to sand it real good. And then hit it real good with some paint. You want to make sure to use the same color paint as your Jeep though, because you'll be able to see this part right here when you open your door. So I've let that dry. Now what we need to do is test fit it again. And it's going to sit something like that. You want to make sure that that line is right below the door. So you can use some tape to hold that up there, or you can use a friend, or you can just kind of eyeball it here. I think I'm just going to eyeball it right about there. And what I'll do is I'll hold that in place while I just start the holes. Once again, I'm not going to go all the way through, just enough to see where to drill the hole. Alright, now I'll go ahead and drill them out. Alright, so I went ahead and put the molding on. I put the screws in and the spacers in the back. Now I'll just go ahead and screw this down. Alright, so now we just need to line up this side and drill the holes over here, but this plastic molding is in the way. So what I've done is I've marked a line right there, and we're going to go ahead and cut that back. Once again, I want to cut it a little bit short and work my way longer so that I don't overcut. Alright, so that pretty much lines up perfectly, and if you look through these holes you can actually see the door, which is good. So we'll be just going into the edge of the door there. I do need to make a little bit of an adjustment depending on where you set these flares up or down. You might have to adjust this angle right here, which matches the angle of the body molding here. So I'm just going to take off a little bit of that corner right there. Alright, so once you get that perfect, go ahead and start those holes as well. Alright guys, now if you have an earlier model XJ or if you have an aftermarket bumper, then you're completely done. In this case, I'm going to have to trim this bumper cap to fit. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut it right on that line right there. Then we'll put it in place and we'll do a little bit more trimming. Now if you take your time and cut a little bit at a time, you should end up with something that looks like that. And then you can put it on for a near perfect fit. There we go. Alright guys, check it out. I think these fender flares from Napier give this Cherokee a much more aggressive look and also make it more capable at the same time. So don't forget to check out these fender flares at NapierPrecisionProducts.com. Also on BleepinJeep.com/discounts you can find a great coupon code to get a huge percentage off of these fender flares and more. So check that out, BleepinJeep.com/discounts. So that's only for you Bleepin Jeepers, that coupon code. So check that out. Do subscribe to both of our YouTube channels and our Facebook pages as well. Leave your comments below and we'll see you next time.